Mm, share screen. Is that it? Oh my gosh, we finally got it. Okay, let's do that. Maximize. Thank you. Finally, it works. Okay, how you guys doing? My name is Jay Houston, and I chose Lululemon for my project for Business 535. And partly because I chose them is because they're low sustainability ESG score with like 14, comparing to their competitors like Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. They fairly score lower than them both, and as well as in their branching out into men's products as well, because now they're starting to see that consumers start to like them, not just women in the yoga industry. Lululemon was founded by Chip Wilson in 1998 in Vancouver, Canada. He seen that there wasn't a market for yoga, like I mentioned earlier, for women, and decided to create the brand to provide that threshold and provide that niche for women that dedicated their off time to yoga specifically. And the mission statement as follows on their company. We elevate human potential by helping people feel their best, as well as in their vision is to create transformative products and experiences that build meaningful connections, unlocking greater possibility and well-being for all. Though Lululemon has better scores than their competitors, they do still face sustainability challenges like everybody else in the apparel industry, one being their heavy use of fossil fuels as well as in their CO2 emissions. Lululemon's 2022 carbon footprint total about 1.2 million tons of CO2, which is double uh, the year 2020 at 65%. And at 8 to 10% right there, what that is the total global carbon footprint created by the apparel industry alone. So not only does Lululemon face this challenge, it's the apparel industry entirely as a whole. Greenwashing is another thing that Lululemon has faced or challenges in the past. They had a lawsuit filed against them with consumers on their 2020 Be Planet campaign. Consumers felt that they were statements said though that about them being 100% sustainable by the year 2030, that they felt that this was just sad for PR, that they were not having no progress to being 100% sustainable. Uh, and that's why they were filed a lawsuit against them. And overproduction is another thing that Lululemon has faced, as well as in everybody else in the apparel industry. Consumers, we love those low prices. Um, Cheap bargains for clothes, and but that's the cost of overproduced clothing that are dumped or burnt, increasing that CO2 emissions in the atmosphere, as well as in getting to some of our oceans and beaches. And a study shows that 1% of the material used to produce clothing is recycled into new clothing. So the other 99% is rather dumped, or like I said, uh, pushed into the oceans. How that affects us, we might not see the full consequences now, though in generations to come that can lead to our planet continually getting hotter. 2024 was the hottest record on year last year, as well as in damaging in our oceans and the wildlife as it continues to pile up those clothing as well as in get into those oceans, which can affect us in the long term. And how we can fix this, Lululemon can decide to make 50% of their products recyclable. And they already doing this with their non-line products, though making a big push to their recyclable materials will help them become more sustainable in the long run. Partnering with Spinnova. What Spinnova is, that's a company that specializes in sustainable fibers, as well as in uh, shying away from the harmful chemicals that are used to usually manufacture products and materials. And Lululemon can, in the short term, learn from Spinnova how they manufacture their products and how their innovation comes to when making their material. And in the long term, maybe even have a or long-term commitment or partnership uh, with Spinova, though with 50% of their materials being recyclable, a good plan for them is 20% right now, 30% next year, 40% by the year 2030, and 2032, they should be 50% uh, recyclable material, which will probably be about $400 billion per year when it comes to having that sustainable report. And complementing that will be the carbon labels. Lululemon should start to carbon label some of their products, and they can do this by partnering with Carbon Fact. What Carbon Fact is, that's another business that specializes in producing carbon labels for businesses. They partner with businesses such as On, the shoe brand, North Face, another brand that they partner with, and it educates not only consumers but businesses on how much CO2 they are producing in the environment, as well as in how much materials or what type of materials are actually being used in their clothing. And this will help Lululemon shy away from those greenwashing acquisitions that they had faced earlier, though they'll be able to learn from it as from the CO2 emissions and help reduce that number, as well as in educating consumers on the type of products that are being used and the measures that they can use to measure this is not start to calculate how much percentage of their clothes are actually carbon labeled, rather that be um, that percentage of the 50% of the recyclable material or the regular materials that's used by fossil fuels. And another metric that they can use is how much materials are actually recycled and plant-based. Like I said, 20% of their materials are recyclable right now with the nylon, though they need to start having a measuring how many products are actually fully percent recyclable and sustainable. And this will probably be about $3 to $8 million per year when it comes to licensing and partnering with Carbon Fact, though it will take quite some time, around maybe a year, to gather all the evidence as well as in the information and then verifying the information. Obviously, you don't want to get into any greenwashing accusations again, and make sure that the verification is right. Then actually starting to implement the labels on the products. So it might take about a year to 2 years to actually fully start putting those carbon labels on there. And after that, it'll probably be about $3 to $8 million, depending on how many labels are put on each Lululemon product. And reflection and course takeaways, this course, I know I'm going to be a business owner someday, and I learned a lot from it. Really, the big thing that I learned from it is that even though businesses, it is usually made to make profit and make shareholders happy. At the end of the day, that's not just what business is. Businesses, you also have to look at the environment as a whole. You have to look at the community as a whole. You have to look at your employees, and stakeholders as a whole. Because, yeah, profit is a big thing, though. Um, Keeping the world safer, when it comes to in the long run, because how can you run a business if the earth is on fire? So it kind of made me look at business at a different perspective, to where I may have not learned everything about sustainability in the businesses and caught everything, though it kind of made me switch my perspective on when I started to work in the business field. So that's my takeaway from the course. I appreciate learning from you, Professor Hejon, as well as in giving me the feedback, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's it. Okay, stop. Oh, I gotta stop it. Stop. And then we end it.